Hello guys, it's the Unsmooth Criminal, mainly here to babble on about what ifs and hopefully entertain you guys. But this is What If Naruto Was a Kitsune Part 3. And quick recap, because I haven't done this in a while. She has 5 tails. She's 5 tails, and she's about to help fix Gaara's seal with the 4th and Jiraiya, the Sanin, and the Chunin exams is still being invaded by Orochimaru, and I'm probably going to tell you the reason why this episode, but I'll be right back. It'll be an instant for you, but a few minutes for me. Okay, I am back. An instant for you, but a few minutes for me. So we are underneath the Namikaze compound, and there's a room that is completely sealed off from the outside world. And the 4th Hokage tells Gaara to stand in the middle of the array and for Jiraiya to put up a Kage barrier. I forgot what they named it. I think it's 5 Kage barrier. I think that's what it is from the war arc. But the 4th Hokage tells him to put up a 5 Kage barrier, and Jiraiya acts dumb and says, "What is a 5 Kage barrier?" And the 4th immediately uses his patented jutsu to get near him and say, "Put it up, or I'm closing down the hot springs for the next few days." And Jiraiya, being the pervert he is, says, Okay, I'll do it. You don't need to go that far, Lord Fourth. And he still has to keep up the facade of no, he doesn't say Lord Fourth, he says Minato. You don't have to go that far, Minato. Because Minato is still his student, and Jiraiya does know that Minato is a kitsune, and that he's hiding it. So an hour goes by, and Gaara's seal has been improved. Shukaku is now actually sleeping and not forever awake in a inanimate object storage scroll seal. And Naruto gives Gaara the key, because she wrote this seal. It's 5 times stronger than the 8 trigrams seal that Minato put on the Nine Tails, and Minato was surprised of how strong it was. And she also put in the ability for the user, when they go into their mindscape, to control what the cage looks like. So Gaara was meditating and going into his mindscape and communicating with the Ichibi, or also known as Shukaku. Shikaku's Shikamaru's father. Just for you guys to know. So Shukaku is currently talking with Gaara, and they're starting to understand each other. And it's now the day of the exams. Or did I do the exams last? And if I did it last episode, I'm going to go back over it. I don't think I did, though. Put in the comments you're an idiot if I am repeating myself with the exams. And if I see one "you're an idiot," then I'll take this video down and redo it. I swear. But So the exams go to canon with Naruto still being somewhat ignorant to Sasuke's feelings, and Sakura still being a fangirl. And the only reason why Sasuke is drawn to Naruto is because she's not a fangirl. And so it's now Sasuke versus Gaara, and Gaara doesn't go crazy. He leaves the match and has a hurt shoulder. He goes to the medical area, and the Kazekage, which is Orochimaru at this point, is asking why didn't Gaara do the play possum jutsu, which it makes him fall asleep and Shukaku take over. And the fourth is talking with the Raikage and say, I'm glad that the Kazekage gave us permission to fix the seal for the Ichibi Jinchuriki. Isn't that right, Kazekage? And he goes, oh yes. I'm glad I had you do it too. And the Raikage was let in on the information and code that they've been using to communicate with the actual Kazekage, and that the Sand siblings begged their father, and he reluctantly agreed, and he didn't mention Gaara by name or who was sealing him. And the one mistake Orochimaru did was, I'm glad I had you fix the seal. The original Kazekage does not know who fixed the seal. He just knows that the seal is fixed, and he knows that Gaara won't go crazy anymore. And the Raikage is that so? I didn't know the Kazekage knew that you fixed the seal. Minato goes, I didn't fix the seal. It was one of our genin that is a level 10 seal master that fixed the seal. And the Raikage looks at him going, what? In a loud, wait, you have a level 10 seal master genin? And Minato goes, yeah. Naruto Uzumaki. And since Orochimaru was here in the village and Minato's marriage was kept secret to the highest level of shinobi only, hearing Uzumaki, Orochimaru put it together that Naruto is the daughter of Minato. And Minato says that the genin this year have been very promising, so I've personally taken it upon myself to give them jutsus that I feel will support their kind of fighting style. And the Raikage says, what kind of jutsus? And Minato says that there is one girl in this group that has a really high lightning affinity. Well, really high affinity for every element. The Raikage looks at him like he just grew a second head. And Minato says yes. She's so far mastered wind, fire, and earth. And the Raikage goes, she mastered wind, fire, and earth. What is she trying now? And the fourth Hokage says, she's currently trying to master water. We might see some water jutsus today. And it's now Naruto versus Gaara. their fight. And when Hayate, the proctor for this exam, goes onto the stage, he says, "We shall now put up a barrier for these two highly skilled genin because they are also Jinchuriki." The public knowledge of Naruto being a Jinchuriki is exactly that, public knowledge. Now, and Gaara being a Jinchuriki is known by everybody because of the Kazekage. Basically blurting it out when he evacuates his village and attempts to kill his own son. So they both start using, well, Gaara starts using his Biju's chakra, and he gains a little bit of the power of the Biju. Naruto doesn't use any of the Biju's chakra and just tells the Kyuubi to give her a refill if she needs it. And by this time, Naruto and the Biju have the exact same amount of chakra in their base forms. So he goes, "You get one refill, and then I gotta recharge." And she goes, "Okay." So the fight starts, and she's throwing high-level water jutsus, high-level wind jutsus, and high-level fire jutsus. Then all of a sudden, she gets swallowed by the sand, and everybody's like, "Oh God, did she just die?" And Gaara, knowing she can survive a sand funeral, he does a sand funeral. And once he says sand funeral and the ripple goes out, she flashes to him and be like, "What the hell, man? Trying to kill me?" He goes, "Sorry. Fighting like my life depends on it." She goes, "Makes sense. But could you not try to kill me? Immobilize me? Break one of my limbs? That's fine. But try not to crush my skull in, please." And he goes, "I'll try." And hearing him not talk about murder, death, and apparently his mother is confusing to all the Jonin who've seen him, and Baki, who doesn't know that Gaara's seal is improved, asks the Sand siblings, Tamari and Kankuro, what happened to Gaara. And they say Gaara had some help from a really high-level seal master in this town, or in this village. And he says, "The fourth Hokage?" And they go, "No." "Lord Jiraiya? Hisani?" They go, "No." And he says, "Who else is a seal master?" And they point down to the arena and go, "Her." And Baki is staring, gaping like a fish, and asking, "Wait, she did this?" And they go, "Yeah, she did. Now, can you please just watch and see how strong she is? Because we need to make sure our alliance doesn't go south." And Baki, knowing that since Gaara has an improved seal, that he won't go all crazy Shukaku mode and try to destroy the village. And the Kazekage specifically gave the order to the ninjas that they only start fighting when Gaara goes to Shukaku, goes into the form of Shukaku. And the sound invasion starts after Gaara gets his arm, well, apparently gets his arm cut off. So he's acting like he's freaking out, and sound invasion starts because The temporary fake Kazekage thinks that he's going to go Shukaku mode, and then Gaara disappears into the feathers like a Genjutsu, and the temporary Kazekage still goes to the rooftop with Minato, Hiruzen, who's been sitting next to Minato, and the Raikage. And the Raikage is standing next to Minato and Hiruzen. And this is where the timeline changes a lot. And once the invasion starts, Naruto says it's time, and Gaara goes, I will definitely get it done. And he starts doing the hand signs for Play Possum Jutsu. But this time, Shikaku is on the side of the leaf. He doesn't want complete and utter world domination and destruction this time. Because he knows that there's someone as strong as Kurama right now in the village. And he can't even stand up to one of Kurama's tails. So, he just agrees to help Kurama and Naruto defend the village from the sound. And since Gaara is the Kazekage's son, they listen to Gaara and Baki over anybody else. And Baki and Gaara tells Baki to tell them to fight the Sound Village and defend Konoha. And Baki's like, okay, because he's still scared of Gaara. And Gaara goes into Shukaku possession mode. And he's currently raging through the city, only killing sound ninjas. And maybe stepping on one or two sand ninjas that he didn't like. But otherwise, he's only killing sound. And the leaf ninjas see this and start helping the sand and release Biju. And Orochimaru sees this and is like, what the hell? I had a perfect plan. And Minato goes, you really shouldn't have sent that guy after the hero water. Because once they learn that you were going to invade with the hero water, our village, they kind of told us. And Orochimaru was like, what? But they didn't have strong enough ninjas to face those three. And Naruto flashes with the Hiraishin, flashes to Minato and Hiruzen. Why did I go Irish there? Hiruzen. I don't know why. But she flashes to Minato and Hiruzen. And Minato, seeing the yellow flash, smirks a little, saying, the yellow flash has arisen again. And Minato and Hiruzen have a secret pact that Hiruzen doesn't read Ichi Paradise books, and Minato will help Jiraiya to make the Ichi Paradise books if he stops selling them in the Leaf. And he dreadfully hates it, but he's getting the best deal where his ninjas aren't reading a perverted book. And Naruto shows up and says, Lord Forth, I will personally help Jiraiya with the Ichi Paradise books and help him sell them in the Leaf if you don't give me Chunin. And the fourth Hokage like, hold on. Fine. And so Orochimaru sees that he's against 3 Kage level shinobi and a unknown shinobi level, at least Jonin, to be able to hit Gaara, because he doesn't know Gaara is currently stable and sane in this one. So Gaara, when he's stable and sane, is a Chunin. So she's a level Chunin. So he's like, okay. And this is going to be weird, but Orochimaru does the Edo Tensei. And instead of bringing back just 2, he brings back 10 Kage level shinobis. A few S-rank missing nins, and some of them were the swordsmen of the mist, so they had their swords with them. There was Hashirama, his brother, Mito, and Kushina. Kushina was summoned, and Kushina this time knew the hand seals for Edo Tensei, and she performed the Edo Tensei, and she was freed from Orochimaru's control. And she turned to Orochimaru and said, "You perverted little piece of crap. I'm going to stab you and rip you apart limb from limb for trying to make me kill my daughter." And she points at Naruto, and Naruto raises an eyebrow and asks, "Daughter?" And Minato hears this and is like, "Crap, if we don't seal her because we have to fight her, I'm dead." And Kushina looks at Minato with a very sweet smile, goes, "Honey, did you lie to our daughter?" And he goes, "Maybe?" In a very high-pitched voice, and Hiruzen, knowing that smile and voice, was like, "Yeah, I'm here to stop Orochimaru and kill him. I don't care what your family drama is right now. Can we kill him first?" And Kushina, the Konoha's Red Death, is like, "Hi, Hiruzen. Yeah. Let's just deal with these pests real quick." And Kushina, being almost as fast as the Raikage, is easily ripping to shred the wielders of the 7 swords. The only ones they don't have is Zabuza and what is his name? I forget his name. Kisame Hoshigaki. Zabuza, Momochi, and Kisame Hoshigaki. And Naruto, being almost a master of Kenjutsu. Ken is forbidden. Kenjutsu. Because of Zabuza. And she's been training with heavy and light swords. She's been training with light swords before Zabuza with Asuma, but she prefers heavy swords with her strength and speed. So she sees the explosive tag one that looks like a meat cleaver. She sees the needle looking one. She sees the 2-handed one. Forgot all of them, but she sees all of them except for Kuikiri Bocho, the Executioner's Blade, and it's not Zabimaru. It's God dang it! I had the name. I just had the name like an hour ago. Samihara, I think. Yeah, Samihara. If that's wrong, Shoot me out in the comments. I don't really care. I'll look it up later. So the twin blades adjust via the chakra of the user to what the user prefers. And the user before the one in Naruto is currently wielding them. So Naruto sees them and is like, I know what those swords are, and I know I can use them because of the chakra amount they use. And during this entire time, she's barely touched the surface of her chakra, and if Kitsune Hoshigaki loses Samihara, and Samihara even scratches Naruto's chakra, it will leave Kitsune Hoshigaki, because of how sweet the mythical races are, the Fae races in this world. So she goes and she blitzes the Edo Tensei and completely evaporates the Edo Tensei, which stops it from regenerating. Because there's two conditions for it to stop regenerating. You seal the soul, which releases it, or you evaporate the body to where it can't regenerate. So it was evaporated and it dropped its sword. She picked it up and channeled chakra into it. And it mimicked the Executioner's blade. But it's split in half. So she has two Executioner blades. And Zabuza, who's currently watching the battle, because they are in the field, like in canon, sees two Executioner blades and is like, damn! I didn't know that sword was that strong. And all of a sudden, he sees Naruto swinging them like a berserker would and a master swordsman would. And he's completely confused because the swords are unbalanced when it's not wielded with two hands, and they're super freaking heavy. He makes a mental note to ask her what her training regiment for the weights are and to get some. Because even now he has trouble wielding it for the entire day, or even two of them for a limited amount of time. He's either leaning it up against his body or leaning it against something and only carrying part of the weight in one hand. And he goes back to fighting the sound ninjas, which he has Orochimaru has thousands upon thousands of sound ninja. Most of them are level of Genin. And have stage 0 curse marks. Which stage 0 is just the curse mark on your neck. So they have the power of a Genin. Not a Genin, a Chunin. Instead of the power of a Genin. So, while they're fighting, or no, not while they're fighting, Kushina sees this and is like, okay, after this, we need to talk to see what you actually told her. And Minato's like, okay. She's going to become Chunin after this, and I promised her I'd tell her after she became Chunin. So, Kushina goes, you promised to tell her after she became an adult. And he goes, yeah? Scared now, just scared to death now. And she gives a really sweet smile and then goes to shredding to the other Edo Tenseis. And Minato and Minato and a clone of Naruto are currently making tags, seal tags, for the sealing of the Edo Tenseis. And since Orochimaru summoned Kushina, Naruto doesn't see a reason why she can't stay. And she's like, he made the sacrifice. He has to deal with the moral ramifications of making that sacrifice. So, Kushina and Minato and Naruto have these same ideas. Tobirama and Hashirama are fighting Hiruzen. The rest of the 7 ninja swordsmen have been dealt with. So Hiruzen and Tobirama start working together like a perfect team, which they used to do when they were alive. And now it's time to show how good they were as a team. Hashirama uses Deep Forest Emergence, and Tobirama does Mass Water Dragon Jutsu, which summons 20 water dragons to attack his specific target. And he chose Naruto to attack. And Naruto, not knowing lightning, she gets hit by all the water dragons and is knocked out. And the tag that that it was working on becomes unstable and lands on the clone that was currently knocked out, and it blows up. So the clone went unstable and blew up like the explosive clone jutsu. So Naruto wakes up in the hospital. But back to the fight. Kushina sees that she got knocked out and goes berserk. And she still has somewhat of the Kyuubi's chakra, because her soul kept some. And she starts releasing it. And now that the Kyuubi is connected to her again, slightly connected to her, he transfers into Kushina's mindscape and says, "Your daughter is fine, she's just asleep." And Kushina calms down slightly and gains control of the Ninetales chakra that's surrounding her. So the fight continues, and Hiruzen finally was about to use the Reaper Death Seal when he saw a yellow flash behind him and a tag get placed on Hashirama, who's currently stabbing him in the gut with a wood pole or wood stake. And now that Hashirama's gone, they have to fight Tobirama, and Tobirama goes down pretty much the same way. He's currently fighting them off, and then all of a sudden he gets hit really hard and he loses the fight. So it's now the end of the fight where Orochimaru tells them to pull down the barrier, and they pull down the barrier, and he starts to try to run, and the Raikage, who's been waiting for this, uses Lariat to hit Orochimaru really freaking hard. And Orochimaru now is on the ground, knocked out, and the Sound 4 use their second stage curse marks to get Orochimaru out of there. So they get Orochimaru out of there, and it's now a week later, and Naruto is finally free to leave the hospital. And she goes to her apartment and finds Kushina there, sitting at her table, waiting for Naruto. And Naruto walks in and asks Lady Kushina, "What are you doing here?" And Kushina flinches at the lady portion, and she says, "I need to tell you something. That your dumb father didn't." Because by this time, Naruto has moved out from Kakashi's house and is now living on her own. And Kakashi is currently out on a S-rank mission, so he's not going to be back for a while. And Kushina is currently looks like a vestige of a Shinigami to Minato, and he's doing whatever she says because he's currently scared of her. So Kushina calls in Minato, and Minato says yes ma'am and walks into the basically kitchen area and says, "Naruto Uzumaki, I have to tell you an S-rank secret that I have kept from you for the last for your entire life." And she goes, "What is this secret?" And he goes, "I'm your biological father." And the ears and tail pop out, and he goes, "I am also the one who gave you part kitsune DNA." And Kushina squeals happily because she loves when his ears are out because she says they're cute. And he flinches whenever she squeals because it's really loud. So Minato is currently explaining why he did what he did and for what reasons he did what he did. And she's looking at him and looks at Kushina and looks at him and looks at Kushina and asks, "Why didn't you guys tell me?" And Kushina says, "I didn't tell you because I was dead." And Naruto goes, makes sense. And looks at him and he sees a little bit of fire in her eyes, and she asks, "Why didn't you tell me? I trusted you as a Hokage and I saw you as an uncle." And Kushina laughs and says, "Yeah, makes a better uncle than a father." And Minato looks down, depressed that his own daughter, his biological daughter, called him an uncle. And his wife agreed with his daughter. And he says, "I'm sorry. I didn't want Iwa or Kumagekure to know that you were my daughter until you were a Chunin. And I wanted to know your opinion on making it public for everybody to know." And she goes, "Wait, I'm a Chunin? Yes, I was totally lying about Jiraiya thing." And Minato's eyes widen, going, "You lied to your Hokage?" And she goes, "No, I lied to my uncle." And Kushina laughed and said, makes sense." And Naruto goes, "Let's start over because I've always wondered who my biological parents were because I look nothing like Kakashi." And she, instead of saying Kakashi, she said, Dad. I look nothing like Dad, so you're my father. And Minato nods his head, and Kushina asks who is Dad, and Kakashi walks through the door saying, that would be me. I've been taking care of her since she was little on Minato's request. And Naruto hugs him going, you're back! And now it's training time, and gets the evil grin Kushina, the evil sweet grin Kushina had in the fight with the Kage, and Kushina smiles knowing that Naruto took after her instead of her father. So Kushina is currently catching up with Naruto while they're walking to the training ground, and Naruto is telling Kushina about all the things she's done and how her first high-ranking mission turned into even higher-ranking mission because the client lied, and that she's perfected some jutsus of her own, and that she's willing to teach her mom the wind jutsus she's perfected. And Kushina asks, how do you know I have wind affinity? And she says the fourth Hokage is known for having 4, not 5 affinities. And the 4 affinities I have are the same as his, and I'm guessing yours is the last one that I have, because I have all 5 and he only has 4. And she goes on a rant about how 4 is better than 5 because you don't have to master as many, and you can control your chakra better. And Kushina starts laughing, saying 4 isn't better than 5, 5 is better than 4 because you can use void release. And Naruto asks what is void release, and Kushina says it's a sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan, and it was one of the only Uzumaki clan members who had 5 not nature affinities, had all 5 of them. So she was asking if she'd like to learn it, and Naruto says, sure, I'd be glad to learn it. And 10 minutes later, Kushina has a scroll in her hand. I was gonna get up. Has a scroll in her hand, and it says that only someone with all 5 chakra natures can actually read from the scroll. And Kushina says, if you've learned and mastered all 5, you can actually read from this. I haven't mastered all 5, but I've learned them. And now I have time to catch up with you and be a mother again. And Kushina is now Naruto's test dummy for all the jutsus that she wants. And Kushina agreed to that because she would like to spend as much time with her daughter as she possibly can. So, 3 months later, Kushina asks if they know where Lady Tsunade is. And Minato says, Jiraiya does, I don't. And Jiraiya walks in and says, it's hard to say, but she's probably in a gambling town. And around this time, she normally comes close to Leaf Village. And Minato says, okay, why don't you fetch her? Take Naruto with you. And Naruto says, I get to meet the Slug Princess, and Jiraiya says, depends on how willing she is to come home. And Naruto says, I will make a bet with her. And Minato goes, ooh, another one. And Naruto goes, what do you mean another one? And he points to Jiraiya to tell her what he means. Jiraiya tells the young Kunoichi, Naruto, to talk to her father, her biological father, and her biological mother to get the details on what he means. And Kushina is happy to talk to Naruto. And Minato goes back to his paperwork and gets a death stare from Kushina for a second. And he's just ignoring it, hoping that it would go away because of how terrified he is of his wife sometimes. Another few months go by and they're off. And Naruto is currently searching for Minato, not Minato, Lady Tsunade, the Slug Princess. So we're going to go to when they're in the town and Naruto has finally met the Slug Princess, Lady Tsunade, and they graciously meet her, and Lady Tsunade looks at the Edo Tensei of Kushina and says, Kushina? And Lady Tsunade and Kushina goes, yeah, that's me, Grandma. And no one besides Minato and Hiruzen knew that Lady Tsunade was Kushina's grandmother. So it's now Naruto looks at her like she's crazy, and Lady Tsunade goes, "Oh, so only them still know?" And she goes, "Yeah." And Naruto asks, "What do you mean only them still know?" And not Lady Tsunade, Kushina says, "I am really a descendant of the Senju clan, but the CRA was a bad law by my uncle and my great uncle, and we kind of didn't want to go through it, so we didn't use it, and I faked my death to become an Uzumaki." So yeah, and Naruto asks, "So I'm a Senju and a kitsune," and Lady Tsunade, not even noticing the tail and ears, goes, "Wait, kitsune?" and looks closer and sees the tail and ears, and she goes, "Oh," and goes, "Oh, I'm gonna have to talk to your husband." And Kushina says, "Ex-husband, because I'm kind of dead." And Lady and Tsunade goes, "True, true, true. I'm still gonna have to talk to him." So they takes them like a few days to get back to the village. And since Orochimaru's arms were not messed up, he didn't go to Lady Tsunade for healing. But instead, he still did go to Lady Tsunade because he had severe injuries. But all of a sudden, she disappeared after the meeting and wasn't in town anymore. So he searched for Lady Tsunade in town, and she wasn't there. So he just left, not knowing where she went. A few days later, they're at the um, uh, where are they? They're at the entrance of the village, and Minato is there to greet them because he's there to greet the Slug Princess, and he greets her and says it's great to have you back. And he sees the fire in their eyes, and he goes, I really shouldn't have done what I did. Can I at least explain? And Tsunade goes, nope. He goes, okay. 10 days later, Naruto is sleeping in her apartment, and she still hasn't moved in with Minato or Kushina yet because she's been living with Sasuke in her apartment. And that's after Sasuke begged for her to let him live with her. So it's time for the training trip. And that's where I'm going to end it for this episode. So Jiraiya shows up again and says, I want to take you on a training trip because there's a rogue organization after you. And Naruto goes, okay, I have to talk to the Hokage first. And he goes, I know. And an hour later, he walks back to Naruto's and goes, yeah, the Hokage wasn't in his office. And Naruto goes, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Kushina, because she basically runs this village now. And he goes, oh yeah, I forgot she ran it when she was alive too. And he walked to the Senju compound and heard screaming and walked in and asked, can I talk to the Hokage? And Minato walks out and says, yeah, give us a minute. A few minutes later, Kushina walks out and greets him, saying it's nice to talk with him. And she says that if you're planning a training trip, just take everybody along with. And he goes, I can't, because it's going to be a specific training for her to master certain things. And Kushina says, then at least take Lady Tsunade, because one of the tales is medical ninjutsu. And Jiraiya asks, how do you know that? And Kushina says, I have my ways. And she has the devious smile that all the men in Naruto are scared of. And Jiraiya's like, yes, ma'am, and takes Naruto with, or not Naruto, Lady Tsunade with them on the training trip. 10 days into the training trip, they have a run-in with somebody. And this run-in is very, very devastating to a entire town. It was Kitsune Hoshigaki running into Jiraiya and Naruto in a Land of Iron town, and the Akatsuki were not on hiatus because they wanted to test all the Biju, and they finally got to Naruto, and when they saw what her power level was, they're like, why don't we just take her now? And then when Kisame cuts Naruto once, Samihara turns on Kisame, and Kisame is like, what the hell just happened? And Naruto sees a thing crawling towards her, and she's freaking out. And Kisame's like, Samihara, come back here. And he's chasing after Samihara. So, and Samihara keeps attacking Kisame every time he tries to grab the handle, and then he finally asks Kisame, what's so different about her? Samihara jumps on Naruto and starts eating some of her chakra very, very, very slowly, and basically bonds with Naruto. And Naruto is petting Samihara like it's a pet. And she treats Samihara like it's alive and not just a tool to be used. Like how Kisame treated it. And Samihara enjoys being treated like a thing, not a tool. So Naruto puts Samihara on the side right this second and lifts up her sword, which Kira knows that Kiri knows that Konoha currently has most of the swords from the seven swordsmen of the mist and a user of these swords, but they don't have any tools to actually get them back because they are currently fighting a civil war. And Samihara is bonded with Naruto, and Naruto defeats Kisame because Kisame is basically useless without a sword. And Samihara is a shark, crocodile, lizard thing in Naruto's mindscape. And when Naruto finally gets into her mindscape, she sees Kurama talking with this shark thing. And she asks, what the hell is this? And it introduces itself. My name is Samehara, and I am the sword that you are treating with respect. And she goes, oh, so you're the sword that's been chewing my chakra away like it's butter on toast. And it laughs, going, yeah, I kind of have a big appetite. And Naruto says, what is your benefit? Because I know all the ninja swordsmen of the mist have a gimmick. And Samehara says, my apparently gimmick to you is that I have very high chakra absorption. So I can take you down from the amount of 9 tails chakra that you have right now to where you have none flowing through your coils and you have better chakra control. And she looks at it like it's crazy, and he goes, I've done this for Yagura before. I stole all of his Biju chakra. Or sorry, let me rephrase this. I ate his Biju chakra, and he learned to control his chakra better. And she asks, what's in it for me if I completely bond with you? And Samehada says, I'm sorry, but we already completely bonded. There's no going back now. And Naruto goes, wait. What do you mean we already completely bonded? I just met you. And Samehada says, yes, you just met me, but I'm also in your mindscape, showing you that I'm here is bonding completely for me. That's all I needed to have an unlimited supply to your chakra. But I'm not going to eat it like I did Kitsune Hoshigaki's. He was the tailed beast because of me. Because he stole chakra from the enemies to basically give me food. Otherwise, I would take all of his chakra and kill him. But since you have pretty much unlimited chakra, I have no chance of killing you. And if you are on death's doorbed, I can basically revive you. And Naruto goes, okay. Makes a little bit more sense. Question is, why do I need you? I already have the 9 tails. And Samehada goes, true. Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't know why you would need me. I just feel better if you used me instead of Kisame. Because I do have a soul compared to other swords. Most swords don't have souls, and they don't talk back, and they don't think freely. Unlike me, I have a soul, and I am a sword that talks back. I talk to the people who take care of me, and I talk to the people who don't take care of me. I was kind of forced into that relationship with Kisame, and I hated it. Now, if you would please become my owner so I don't have to deal with him again. And Naruto says, I will wield you on one condition. And Samehada goes, okay, what's the condition? Don't turn me into a fish thing. And Samehada goes, I can't. But I will try not to, if I can. Naruto goes, thank you. And she wakes up from her mindscape and grabs Samehada and starts to digest the information she got from Samehada and the bonding process. So she picks up Samehada and starts using it like she would the executioner blade. And then she says this feels wrong. And then she starts trying to shred the target instead of break the target or cut the target in half. Because the different styles of fighting between Zabuza and Kisame is Kisame doesn't execute the target, he shreds the target. So Kisame and Zabuza pretty much have the same fighting style. Besides Zabuza going for criticals and Kisame going for blunt areas. That's the only difference. So I'm going to end it here. Naruto is on the 3-year training trip, and she got Kisame Hoshigaki's sword, and Kisame Hoshigaki's dead. I want to keep saying it's Zabimaru, but that's Renji's sword from Bleach. She got the God. You guys can flame me in the comments for it, but I forgot. But I'm gonna continue this because the next part is supposed to be the Sasuke retrieval arc, but Sasuke didn't leave. He's actually with them on the trip. Oh yeah, Sasuke has been helping, and now he's with them on the training trip. So talk to you guys next time. Bye.